It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. This is a special afternoon broadcast. The show is brought to you live by Audible.com. You go to audibletrial.com/Opperman Report. You go there for free, sign up for free, get a free audiobook. Today we're doing a special live afternoon broadcast. It's going to be available right now live on Spreaker.com. Right after the show, it'll be available on iHeartRadio, Clear Channel Communications, and also on YouTube. It'll go straight up on YouTube. Okay. Then throughout the week, it'll be on ParaX, CBS Radio, Saturday nights, 7 p.m., Penny Entertainment, Blog Talk Radio, and Stitcher.com, Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then on Firehorse Radio, Wednesday night, late night in the Midlands on Tuesday afternoon, High Point Radio, both on AM and FM in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. And don't forget all the other stations, PSN Radio, Wolf Spirit Radio, Talk Superstation, AwakeRadio.us, AwakeRadio.uk, 1800 Online, Shizaz Radio, Just Us Radio Network, and Scottish Sovereigns on the Land. Okay, now today we're going to have Diana Garren. She's the author of Who is the Man Behind the Screen and How to Protect Your Heart and Money. You can find a link to her book on the Opperman Report blog. Okay, and we'll be bringing her on in just a second. Tomorrow night we got, oh my God, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Now, tomorrow night we have Detective Ike. And I'm going to call him Detective Ike, butcher my last name, NYPD cop. His last name is IQ, IIKIW. So Detective Ike IQ. He's a retired NYPD detective. He's the author of A Cop's Guide to Lower Manhattan, and he's runs a New York City crime tour, New York City Adventure Tours, and New York City Adventure Tours founder and tour guide. Okay, don't forget, we're a listener-sponsored show. You can donate at OppermanReport@gmail.com. We love your support. We appreciate your support. And you can also advertise by getting a hold of us at OppermanReport@gmail.com. And you can have your ads placed on the station here. Coming up, we have, after Ike, we have Dean Henderson. I'm going to be talking about Venezuela and Hugo Chavez. And then after that, we have a show coming up about Princess Di. So we have a lot of big stuff coming up. But tonight, we're lucky to have Diane Garren, the author of Who is the Man Behind the Screen? How to Protect Your Heart and Money. Diane, are you there?
I am here, Ed. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming on. You know, especially we just had a little glitch here with Skype, and we didn't get a chance to talk much before the show. But thank you so much, my friend. So tell us first about yourself a little bit, about your life, and your employment and stuff like that, and then we'll get into how you got involved with all this this internet romance scamming investigation type. What do you call it? The revealing that you do.
You got it, sir. Well, I have been in sales and marketing for over 30 years. I have my own company called True Perceptions. We've been in business for 15 years. And I have actually worked with private investigators and attorneys nationwide, helping them market their business for the last 15 years. And a lot of my clients are certified fraud examiners. So you would think I would know everything there was about fraud, wouldn't you, Ed?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but it's like physician heal thyself, one of those kind of situations.
So I was one of the people, like most people in the world, that think this could never happen to me. But it was even further than that, Ed. I didn't even realize this romance scam was going on. I had no clue. So I was very, very naive when it came to online dating or even Facebook or Skype. I mean, they're using every media possible. And so, I went online and I put my profile up, I put my picture up, and I, looked through the men, and I hit on the scammer. Can you believe it?
I do believe it. But what year was that? When did this happen?
That was 2012, Ed, and then I spent 2.5 years doing research for my book.
So this is very recent.
Yes, very recent.
Okay, I had assumed this happened back in the 90s.
No. This is very, very recent.
Okay, well, so this is kind of fresh then, even personally, kind of fresh on your heart.
A lot of people have said, have you written this, to get over it? And I said, no, I was over it within, 30 days. I was done. Unlike a lot of the victims out there who end up in these relationships, Ed, for years.
Yeah.
Thank God, I had been around investigators and, he got me for $3,500 at one shot. And then he, 2 days later wanted 11 grand. I said, whoa, back this thing up.
but that's good. Let's back this up a little bit. Because now it's 2012.
Yeah.
And you're a smart woman. You got your own business. You're consulting, you're helping other businesses. You're even smarter than the average business person.
Yeah.
So now, had you watched the TV show Catfish? That was around back then, right?
I had heard of it, Ed, but here's the thing. I didn't pay attention. And I think that's like with a lot of people. They might see it, but they think, oh, that could never happen to me.
Right.
Right? So you pay attention, but you're not paying attention. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does, yeah, because no one expects that they're going to fall into a big, giant trap and that everyone's out to get them, okay? So you go online, you go on a dating site, you put your profile up, and you find this guy. Now, wait a minute. You gave him $3,000 right away?
I gave him $3,500, and let me share this with you.
Yeah.
Number one, the perception out there is that anybody who gets scammed through the romance scam is desperate.
Right.
Number one, I surely am not desperate. I was not desperate in 2012, but I was ready for a relationship. Okay?
Sure.
Hadn't dated in a while, and it was like, I'm ready now. So, and a lot of times, men and women who are being scammed through this are still grieving because they have lost their spouse of many years.
Was that your situation, that your spouse had died? You were a widow?
No, that wasn't my situation. I had just been busy for the last 8 years building my business, Ed, and I just didn't have time for a man in my life. That's just what it was for me.
And so you were a little out of practice, too, with the dating business, right?
Yeah, very out of practice.
Yeah, got you. Well, that's like riding a bike, though. You can figure it out.
Yeah, but, it's pretty bad that the first time you get back on the bike, you get scammed, right?
But that's not that unusual. That's not that unusual at all.
It is not. And, and the scammers target men and women between the ages of 40 and 70 because they're looking for money. They're not looking for love. However, when a man or a woman goes on a dating site, us people who are real, let me say it that way, we're looking for love. So, there's two different agendas there, right?
Right.
And everybody has a vulnerability. And Ed, mine is I love to be romanced. And this guy romanced me. He did. So, he got me. As he told me later on, he said, my job is to make women fall in love with me so I could get their money. That's what I'm good at.
So wait, so how long from the first time did you first, you fell in love with his picture?
Yep, and that's what most people do. Fall in love with the picture. And then he called me and we chatted. And it was so bad, I didn't even know how to use Yahoo Messenger. Okay? So he taught me how to do that. And he lived in San Diego. San Diego is one of my favorite cities. He supposedly, let me back myself up, supposedly lived in San Diego, had a phone number for San Diego, said he had a construction business, which in our company, we develop websites. I went to the website. It was very professionally done.
Okay.
It's like I found him on Switchboard. I found him on White Pages. I found him on Checkmate. What I did not do is look for a contractor's license in California because he said he was a contractor.
And was this a real website or just one he had picked for somebody else and he stole?
No, this was a real website.
Really?
And as soon as this was all over, he took it down. Yes.
Okay.
So, the best I can explain it, and everybody asks, and I have a place where I have a lot of victims, okay? So I'm learning from them, too, because they've been in it a lot longer than I was as far as, being in love with somebody for a long period of time. And we all say the same thing. We can't explain it, but it's almost euphoric. It's like they come in and they're chatting with you and calling you and they're just sweeping you off your feet. And it's just like, whoa, and that's how they do it. They're fast and they're furious.
But you want to know what? Sometimes when you meet somebody right off the bat, you do click like that. For real,
It happens.
Yeah, even on the internet. You can meet someone, you're chatting away, and you start calling, and you're head over heels.
Yeah. And here's something I would like to say is that we need to stop doing that. In today's world, things are much different, Ed, and it's not safe to be like that. So what I recommend now to everybody is before you even think, can I have a relationship with this person? The first question to be asking yourself is he or her, are they a scammer?
But wait a second, before we get to that, because I'm a little more interested in again, the details of your case.
Okay.
Now, what is the reason he gave you for needing this money?
Okay, so he said he was a contractor, which most of them say that. And on day 8, I said to him, I had a lot of questions, Ed. It was like, I don't know, something doesn't seem right. This was awful fast. And, I was like, between my heart and my mind was saying, and my heart was saying, go full steam ahead, right?
Right.
And on day 9, the very next day, he said he got a contract for China. He was leaving for China. He had work to do there. And on day 10, it got urgent. He was in trouble in China.
Wow.
And I said, okay, so what's happened? What's gone on? And he said, well, I came through with some tools in my suitcase, and that's obviously a no-no here in China. And I either have to, send them pay them $3,500, or I go to jail. I said, okay. I didn't just believe his story, Ed. I work with investigators all over the country.
Okay.
So I called on one of my investigators who does counterespionage and who has worked in China. And I said to him, this is the story I'm getting. Could this be true? And he said, absolutely, Diana, that would be true in China. So, okay. So I really like this guy. And I said, look, I will lend you the money. And because he had told me he had, a traveler's check with him for $75,000 that he couldn't get cashed until he got out of the situation. And within 2 days, he would send me the money back.
All right.
Okay. So I lent him the money. Okay.
Okay.
So because really,
that was smart of you.
yeah, not too smart. I guess that's where my
mean.
blonde hair came in, right?
Right.
But anyway, and then, it was actually day 18. Now we're in day 11 that I sent him the money. And, all the way to the bank, I'm going, I shouldn't be doing this, but I did it anyway, Ed.
But that's another good thing, because when you have that gut feeling that something's wrong, it always is.
It's always right.
I know.
It's all, and I had that gut feeling. Here's the really bad part is the lady at the bank, because I wired the money through the bank. And she's like, are you sure about this? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure about this. She said, even after we did it, she says, I'm going to wait until you get home and call you and double check. Yeah. And on my way driving home, I'm like, I'm going to tell her, don't send that money. And do you know when the bank called, I said, send the money?
Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, it's so wild. It's bizarre. And that's what I say in the beginning of my book is it's bizarre. This whole thing is bizarre. So, he got me, and then day 18, he wanted $11,000. I was like, you are a scammer. I figured that one out. So I said, game on. Let's play.
Let me ask you this first, before we get to that.
Yep.
How did he know that you had this kind of money?
Well, they don't. They're hoping.
Right.
They're hoping. And that's the reason that they hit on men or women between the ages of 40 to 70. We're established. We should have some kind of money by then, or we can get our hands on money.
So,
Okay?
so you don't think he did any kind of background check on you or any kind of asset search or anything like that?
Oh, heck no.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, 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 no. I mean, once they, they try to, I'm sure. But from what they told me, because we'll get into this where, I do have sources in Nigeria now.
Right.
And they just know, Ed, they do it so much, it's like a sales job. And they know, they can tell by chatting with somebody, yay or nay, within the first 2 to 3 hour chat.
Yeah, I can believe that. But the thing is to devote 9 days and then find out, oh, are you kidding me? I'm in bankruptcy. I got nothing to send you, That could be a little deterrent. But
yeah, it could be. But that's, again, if you're in sales, that's the chance you take no matter what sales call you make, right?
Yeah, I got you, yeah.
Yeah. So, I wanted to learn more, and I kept boxing this man in because now I wanted to know who took my money.
Right.
Who was able to con me, I'm a smart lady, and I'm street smart. Who was able to do that to me? So I continued to box him in, and eventually he did come forth with his identity, Ed.
Okay.
And he ended up being a 25-year-old guy out of Nigeria. He said he fell in love with me. He begged my forgiveness. He said he worked for a big guy out of China and only made $200 out of that $3,500. So, I saw him on cam, his pictures in my book. All of this is in my book, blow by blow. It's all in there. I didn't leave anything out, Ed. And, I was devastated. It's like, well, this isn't the picture I saw.
Aww.
But, I realized then I had to write a book about this because if he could scam me, and then I started doing some research,
Yeah.
and it's happening all over the world, Ed.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely. This is huge.
It's huge.
But by 2012, a lot of people were already caught on to this.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm a slow learner.
Yeah.
What can I tell you?
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, the victims that I deal with, they're smart too. They're nurses and they work for, government agencies. And I actually had investigators, Ed, come up to tell me after I presented at the conferences that they'd scammed me. So it has nothing to do with nothing to do with training. It has to do with awareness and knowing how.
Now, the victims you're running into now, how do they find you?
Well, they have found me through my book, through doing radio shows and TV shows such as this. And I'm getting ready to do a huge campaign. I need awareness out there, Ed. Everywhere I can be to bring awareness, I will be.
Gotcha.
Because I know, and even the scammers told me, I said, how do you get away with this? I'm like, this is a third world country talking about, right? Who are they're scamming money from us. How does this happen? And the answer I get is nobody talks about it, so we're free to do it. Because nobody's really talking about it.
Yeah, that's so true. With any kind of con game, the victim of the con is the first thing is their humiliation and embarrassment, right? And they don't want to talk about it. They're ashamed. Yeah.
So, I'm not, let me say this to your viewers. The only thing that you did wrong, you were saying, is that you trusted somebody who was not trustworthy.
Right.
Because other than that, this is psychological manipulation, Ed. They were manipulated right out of the gate. The gentleman, Paul Price, from Texas, he was in law enforcement for 20 years. He worked in that fraud. And he wrote a book. And he said, Diana, he said, look, you're for your own home, so you feel safe. Right? I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, they catch you when you're totally in your comfort zone.
Right. Plus, all you see is a picture and a screen. That's why it's always the real man behind the screen. Right? because we have no idea who's behind this. None. Sure. You know, these guys even have videos that they create that they'll unlock video and you think that's who they are.
Yeah, I've heard of that too. Yeah, they'll have a little prep, or even like a little audio recording that they'll use as a prep and leave it on you as a voicemail with someone else's voice.
Oh, well, they don't even anymore. What they use is a voice changer that they buy for like $20 out of China.
Oh, you can get those for $20 now, yeah? Oh, boy.
And, you know, children that they have children, so they'll, you know, their voice change to a boy, a little girl, or a female, or a male, whatever. I mean, the tools that they have is just incredible. So, anyway, I decided to write a book. I decided I'm not an investigator. You are the investigator. But I was just a woman on a mission, okay?
Yeah, but now what about that PI that you talked to first, the guy who knew people in China? Did you ever try and get half your money back from him?
Oh, I just said, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it was what it was.
Yeah, I know.
But, yeah, you know, he just did a question. Was like that. So, but anyway, I started going out looking for these scammers. I could pick pretty quick. And, you know, started flirting with them and chatting. So here's what I did is I chatted with 26 scammers.
Okay.
And I would get them, you know, I tell them I love you. I never said I love you so much. I didn't mean it.
You're bad.
Just role played. I did whatever I had to do to get them to ask me for, tell me where to send it so that I could have many scenarios. Now, do a lot of things similar, but they have, you know, different stories, right?
Okay.
So in that time, you know, I have 26 stories. I couldn't go in the book. But during that time, 5 of these men came with me, and 3 of them ended up being my and taught me the inner workings of the scamming world. And I mean, I talked to these guys on every day. I was on their BlackBerry Messenger, so I saw them putting up. So I was very with these guys. And then that would verify it for me also.
Well,
and none of
have you ever made an attempt like to contact the law enforcement in Nigeria and try and get these guys scooped up?
Well, you know, here's the thing, and afraid that, and I'm a bigger thing than that. Okay, yeah, okay, so maybe I could get 3 of them scooped up,
right?
But that's not going to help the overall picture of the world who needs the information. So what I really wanted was information, and I told them that right from the beginning. I don't want to get you in trouble. I will never get you in trouble. I want information. I want to know how you do this.
Right.
You know, so I'm really after the deep information, Ed. And, you know, I'm going to, you know, you've worked with sources before, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
And when you give them your words, you give them your words, you know? So, I mean, within 5 or 50 of right from what the scammers taught me and what they said, even the profile that they from beginning to end.
Well, you know what we're going to do, Diana? I don't know if you're having problems with Skype, but the audio is so bad I can hardly hear you. I know it's coming out fine over the air, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some commercials now for about 3 minutes, and I'm going to disconnect with you on Skype and reconnect with you and see if we can get a better connection, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we are here with my guest, Diana Garren. She's the author of Who is the Man Behind the Screen? And you can find a link to her book on my blog, OppermanReport.com. And you can pick up a link to her book on there. Hey, Diana, are you there?
Is that any better, Ed?
Okay, keep saying a little more there.
Is that any better? Testing. 1, 2, 3.
There you go. Okay, that's a lot better. Okay, so like I said, we're here with Diana Garren. the author of Who is the Man Behind the Screen? How to Protect Your Heart and Money. And we'll be right back after these commercial messages. And now a word from our sponsors. We are listener-sponsored, and we appreciate your donations. If you like the show, please visit OppermanReport.com and click on the donate button. Or you can donate directly through PayPal at OppermanReport@gmail.com. We have Mike Ray of InfinityHomePlans.com. He's the host of Parlay over at CJ Mars Radio, Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you need custom home designs, stock plans, or 3D work, he's your one-stop shop for home design and drafting needs. Mike Gray at InfinityHomePlans.com. If you're looking for essential oils, stop by and check out Essentially Tammy on Facebook. She is a Young Living Essential Oils independent distributor. Now, these are 100% therapeutic-grade oils. They help support the body's natural functions. You can visit her website posted on Essentially Tammy to see the current deals, or email at JockoTammy, JOCATAMI @yahoo.com, or call 352-239-8546. 352-239-8546. Hey, if you need a private investigator, go to my website, emailrevealer.com. We offer asset searches, locates, skip tracing, adoption investigations, online infidelity investigations. We can recover deleted text messages from a cell phone or trace an email to online dating websites to catch people cheating. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can call 800-572-9762. 800-572-9762 for emailrevealer.com, my PI website. Pacific West Bamboo. It's your premier source for construction and craft-grade bamboo poles. They're announcing their latest project with EcoHead Event Sanitation, making bamboo composting bathrooms and porta potties. Their first display will be at the Lucidity Festival in Santa Ynez, California, April 11th to the 13th. Come by and say hi and see what you can build with bamboo. Contact them for any kind of event planning, display building. If you need construction grade or craft grade bamboo products, call Amanda at 503-839-8126, 503-839-8126, or visit PacificWestBamboo.com, their brand new website. We're also sponsored by the New World Mexican Women. This is a rural Mexican craft women's cooperative. They are traditional makers of fine handcrafted, authentic jewelry. They use beautiful stone mosaics and Pacific blue Abilene inlay. They have a wonderful book of love letters written to their men in the United States, begging them to return to their families in Mexico. But they've written a new book, and it's it's about a young girl that falls in love with a rodeo bull rider and runs off with him without telling her family. It's a beautiful love story called Azucena Part 1, Azucena to the Rodeo. You can find their books and jewelry by clicking on their banner ad at OppermanReport.com or by Googling New World Mexican Women. You can also promote your business or website right here and have your ad played all over the world 7 days a week by emailing OppermanReport@gmail.com or calling 800-572-9762. Okay, we are back with the Opperman Report. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Hey, don't forget the show's brought to you by Audible.com. You go to audibletrial.com/Opperman Report. Get yourself a free audiobook. I wonder, hey, this book, Who is the Real Man Behind the Screen? How to Protect Your Heart and Money. Diana, is that up on Audible? Audiobook?
It's not Audible yet, but it is in softcover and ebook.
Yeah, too bad, because you got a nice voice. Maybe you should, I know it takes a long time to do that recording, but that would be nice. People get a free audiobook. Okay, well, we are back with Diane Garren. Now, Diane, I got a question for you, okay? Because we've been talking now for about a half hour, right?
Huh?
We've been talking for about a half hour, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, we get along pretty good, right?
Yes.
I'm in a little bit of trouble. I need about $3,400.
Hey, Charlie.
Have you learned your lesson, Diane?
Somebody will get me once. They won't get me twice, darling.
Okay, so Diana Garren has learned her lesson, and she's written this book, Who is the Real Man Behind the Screen? I tried my hardest there. I tried my best. We couldn't get her. No, but now, you also started a support group as well online. You have a website?
I have. We have a support group online as far as Facebook, and that's support group for romance scam victims. And we also have Silent Victim No More online. That's, we're looking for stories. We're looking for people to, no longer be a victim, no longer be held to that silence. Break the silence, tell your story. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You were scammed because you didn't know the red flags. It's simple, Ed.
Yeah, I hear you. It would be great if less people were so embarrassed about this and came out and we all talked about it. But are you aware of that? There's like a mailing list. There's this company that sells mailing lists, and they sell it to these scammers, people that are vulnerable to this kind of con game.
I was not aware of that, but I'm not surprised about it either.
They actually sell a list of email addresses and phone numbers of people who have Alzheimer's and dementia, and they sell this to people, to con men that can con these people out of their money, and they get conned over and over and over again. And it's a big company too. They actually, Bill Clinton goes there every year and gives a speech to this company. Yeah, yeah. So it seems to be a very lucrative business.
Well, Ed, that's the other thing, is think about how much money every country is given to Nigeria through these scammers that could be going into our economy. Think about that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and this comes from the most vulnerable people out there, the people who are at most risk.
I mean, my victims, who I now call my overcomers because they've come out of this, 160,000, 120,000, 280,000. I'm just like, and here's the biggest thing is the money is one thing, but it's a heart issue, Ed. And I don't care what anybody says, but once that heart is involved, you are not thinking the same way. You absolutely do not.
Now you talk to a lot of these victims. What is the most money you've ever seen somebody get scammed out of?
That I talked to was 280,000, but Dr. Phil had somebody on last week for 1.442. That's almost $1.5 million.
Yeah. Now with in both of these cases, this was sending money to people that you had never met in person, and that they had never met in person, that they didn't actually meet.
Absolutely. And Ed, the more I work with these people, let me tell you, it's almost like gambling, okay? So if you go and you're playing the slot machine in Vegas, and let's say that you put $1,000 in there, but you're like, I really shouldn't have put that money in there. I really need that money. I think if I just put $500 more in there, I'll get that money back. Okay?
Exactly.
Because here's what the scammers do. Is, baby, I love you so much, and as soon as I get home, I will replace all of this. I'm a very rich man. And they will send them, fake checks that, for big amounts of money. And let me also say this. A lot of people get caught up, where they end up with a criminal record because they end up money laundering these guys.
Right.
Okay? This thing is a heart issue. It hurts your heart, your trust. A lot of times you can end up with a criminal record, your money. I'm really after this thing big, because this is way different than the emails saying you won the lottery somewhere.
But that's actually part of the same scam. Describe how they do the money laundering. Like besides when you send a check to someone, describe how they can kind of con you out of your bank account number and then create checks and have somebody else cash the check for them.
Well, it's not hard because, the women fall so in love with them, they just give it to them.
Yeah.
I have one of my gals who gave them her Social Security number.
Yeah.
And the other thing, it's just, like I said, in school, or even now you have a buddy and he's dating this woman and you're going, don't you see this, and this, and he's going, See what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, and
right?
well, not only that too, but then you get more defensive. You know, when someone's attacking your new boyfriend, your new girlfriend, and telling you, "Hey, man, this guy doesn't really love you. This guy's scamming you." You start defending that person and protecting them even more. Now you've sided with the person who's victimizing you.
Exactly, and not only that, a lot of times, Ed, they keep you isolated.
Right.
They keep you isolated, so you're not even telling people. So you're not even able to get that feedback from people. Even my victims, my overcomers, you know, they've told me and they're in my group, but a lot of them haven't told their family.
Oh, really?
Or their friends. Yeah, you don't talk about it very easily, but that has to change. You know, you have to understand that you were manipulated and that many people out there are manipulated, and you shouldn't be embarrassed or ashamed about it. Because really, you had a good heart. The only thing you did wrong is trusted somebody you shouldn't have.
So now these con men that you're in touch
And
with...
we have to have new tools for this internet game, Ed. Don't you think?
Well, you know what? Give me an idea. What kind of tools do you think we need?
Well, you know, number one, you have to know what the red flags look like. You know, how many millions of people are on Facebook? You know, and scammers hit me on Facebook all the time. The first thing you do, if you don't know them and your friends don't know them, why would you ever accept them into your page? Why would you ever even chat with them? So, you know, so it's just like, oh, he looks cute. You know, let me chat with him. Well, it doesn't take much chatting for these guys to suck you in. So we really need to be more careful, you know, and a lot of people are not. They're just not careful.
Yeah, I got you with that too. You're definitely right. But now you're sort of like a public figure now. You're an author. You know, you go on the radio, you go on TV and stuff like that. You must accept friend requests from people you don't know now.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, I do not. Because the first thing I do when they hit me up as a friend request, I go check out their Facebook page.
Okay.
I know what to look at for the pictures, you know, and most of the scammers have just created, okay, their Facebook page is not that long ago. They don't have that many pictures. They don't have that many friends. You know, you really have to know what to look for. And even then, Ed, some of them are really good. I mean, just like the guy who got me, he had a professional website. He was really good. You know, and even now, if I didn't know the red flags, I'm sure he could have got me again. You see?
You know, one of the things I like to do, I get these messages all the time. I'm online all day long, and I get these messages. Sometimes it'll be an email from someone's email address that you know because they've broken their password and they've taken over this email account, or they're forging the email address. And it'll say, "Hey Ed, this is Diana Garren. I went overseas and I lost my password. I lost my passport, and I need you to wire me some money so I can get out of here. I'm in big trouble." And I know right away it's the same script every time, so I know that they're trying to con me, right?
Right.
So let's say they'll say I'm in Thailand, right? I'll say, "Diana, don't worry. I know the chief of police in Thailand. I'm gonna send, and I'll even Google the guy's name. You know, I know Captain Igwe. I'll send him over to you right now. But where are you? What hotel are you in?" And then they'll come back and say, "Oh, no, don't worry. Listen, don't worry. I've already traced your IP address. We know exactly where you are. We're on our way. Help is on the way." And I'll do that kind of stuff all day long, but I have nothing to do, and I'm sort of a prankster kind of guy. So.
Well, I mean, you know, I'll play with them if I know they're a scammer. I'll play with them, but I tell my girls who are healing, don't do that. They're not ready yet to do that. You with me?
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that, Ed, but not everybody can play with these boys, you know?
Yeah, I'm not emotionally involved.
They are the Yahoo boys, and that's what they're known internationally as, the Yahoo boys. And, you know, if you get somebody who's brand new at it, yeah, you know, you might be able to tell pretty quick that he's a scammer. But Ed, I'm telling you, if you get a professional, it's tough to tell. It's tough to tell right out of the gate if you don't know the red flags.
But now you're down. Now the guys you're in touch with every day, they're in Nigeria, and they're working out of those internet cafes in Nigeria.
That's not true, Ed. They work off of their smartphones anymore.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Things have come a long way.
Aha!
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah.
So they're scamming somebody all day long, okay? All day long.
Oh, yeah, they got 2 or 3 going at once, yeah.
Pardon me?
They have 2 or 3 women going at once, you know? And,
Most of them have about 50.
yeah, and they'll have notes on each woman. So when the woman's, when the message comes up, they just go through their notes. And this one, she's been widowed for 7 years. She has 2 kids. She works in a bank. And they have all their notes ready to go. So you'd think that they've memorized everything. They know everything about me. Oh, this person cares so much. They love me. You know?
Yeah. And that's what they do. Is most people put quite a bit on their profile if it's a dating site, and so they take things off of that dating site that they're going to manipulate you with. And I tell women, it's like, look, don't put hardly anything on that profile, and the big thing is, hey, if I tell you everything now, what are we going to have to talk about?
That's true, too. Now, what about,
right?
do you ever have women, like, they don't get ripped off, but they just get caught up in these people with their fantasy lives, and they're like a catfishing situation where there's really no money changes hands, but they're still being scammed by a faker?
Ed, I'm not even interested in that. I'm going after the guys that are going for the money.
Gotcha.
It's totally different than the catfish. Because these guys are going after the money. They're brutal.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. Now, have you ever had success in helping them recover some money?
No, I have not. And I don't know how to do that or if it's even possible once it hits Nigeria.
Right. Well, but a lot of times, I tell you, I've investigated a lot of these cases, and I tell you, the money is not always in Nigeria. I had one case where it was down in Florida. We were able to get a hold of them really easy. And a lot of times I trace these back, and the money's in Israel. Okay, a lot of times, man. And that's what I found lately. Oh, yeah. And you're so right, too, about this thing about how people keep sending more money, because you don't want to. Yeah. It's like the fish, you're on the fish hook, and you keep giving them more. You're on the
and they really think this guy is for real. They really think he has money. They really think he's home and that he's going to replace this money. They are in this thing heavy, Ed.
But just think, if you stop sending the money, then there's no hope. You've cut the line.
Exactly. Exactly.
But if I just send a little bit more, maybe. Yeah, it's just like your analogy about the slot machine is so true. Just put a couple more dollars in, maybe you'll get it all back.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
We're just human beings doing the best we can, Ed. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
And I would love, things that you can trace. You need to team up with me when we do have somebody, because I always try to find out who they are. Are they in the United States? Are they in Nigeria? Trace their emails, that type of thing.
Well, have you ever tried to do any kind of email tracing or IP address tracing and stuff like that? Do you have any sources?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have. One of my investigators did that for me on everyone that I was chatting with for the book. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I already knew. And the one guy, a matter of fact, in the book, he's the second story, okay? And I named that story The Teacher of Many Things.
Okay.
He ended up coming clean with me and teaching me many things. But I knew he was a scammer the first email he sent me because it said sent by MTN. All I do is go on Google, who's the carrier for MTN? Well, that's Nigeria. Gotcha, baby. You're done. Let's play. Game on. So people have to be more investigators, Ed, really. You can't take anything at face value. Whatever comes across to you, you need to look into it. You need to investigate it. Now, if I was the guy that I got scammed by, if I was going to fly to San Diego, I would have done a background on him before I would have ever flown to San Diego. But I didn't have any intentions yet of flying to San Diego, so I didn't do a background check. I just did a little check online.
Where do you live?
I'm in Atlanta, but I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
Okay, and this guy, he charmed you enough that you would have been willing to hop on a plane and go see him in San Diego.
Well, to me, that's no big deal, Ed. I fly all over the country speaking anyway. That's,
okay.
That's just kind of like what my life is about, But yes, and I have some of them very victims who have sent these guys 3 different times have paid for airfare, and then the guy doesn't show up to get on the plane. Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
I mean, they're so in love with this picture. And, here's the thing, too. One of my sources told me, and it's black magic, and there's a whole chapter on it in my book, and it's called Yahoo Plus and Yahoo Extreme. We're talking about these guys from Nigeria, and they go to juju priest, and they put spells on, and all they need is the picture and the woman's name, and to be able to talk to them on the phone, supposedly.
Really?
Yes.
Now that's very interesting. Give us some more information about that.
Well, it's exactly what I just told you is, they have to take blood and all this stuff to this juju priest, and it's voodoo is what it is, Ed.
Wait a second.
It's hypnotic.
What kind of blood do they take to the priest?
Human blood.
Oh, where do they get the human blood from? Their own or the...
Well, it's called blood money over there, and they will kill children and mutilate women and everything for this.
Really? Okay, so now I know the guys that are doing this, they believe that this really works. Now, what do you think? Do you think it's working or what?
I gotta tell you, Ed, when this guy swept me off my feet, I didn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like, it was just euphoric. It was just, I still can't even explain it. And like I said, even though I knew I should have sent the money, I did.
Right.
Like, why? I keep saying to myself to this day, why did I send it? Even though I said I wasn't going to send it, why did I send it? So in that respect, it's a possibility in my mind. And, I put it out there just so that's information I was given, and people can say yay or nay to it. But this is what they're doing.
Well, now, the guys you're in, your little crew right now that you talk to all the time, do they confess to doing this? Have they confessed to you that they do this?
They have not, but they said they don't do it, but they know many who do. And you can Google it on the internet, and you'll find stories from the Yahoo boys talking about it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And my audience
Google
is
Yahoo Plus, Yahoo Extreme, Blood Money, and you will find a lot on it.
My audience is very familiar with that kind of stuff. Okay, we do a lot of research here and investigations on satanic cults, cults all over the world, pedophile cults, and all kinds of vampire cults and all kinds of blood sacrifices. And I'm of the opinion, I think this stuff I think these evil people do get some kind of power out of it. I'm a Christian myself. But
I am too.
Yeah, well, God bless you. And I believe that a lot of these people, they do get some kind of power out of it. And by only for a season, I think they'll get theirs in the end, I hope. But I just happen to keep seeing this over and over again, that they are getting some kind of benefit from this stuff that they're doing.
They are, and like I said, I even in my ebook and my book, I have, a documentary on it. I mean, Ed, you really have to look at that stuff. And all of my victims that I talk to, they say the same thing. I wasn't myself. It was euphoric. I wasn't myself.
Right, and more than just falling in love. Now, so did you have more than the one book, more than the Who is the Real Man Behind the Screen, How to Protect Your Heart and Money?
My second one's coming out in 2 months, and that one is it a real soldier behind the screen?
Uh-oh.
And that's where they steal our military guys' pictures and pretend to be military. And that is a brutal scam, Ed, because at the end, after they take all the money, then she's notified that he was killed, and there's no closure. It's brutal. It's pulling the most money from the women. It's brutal.
Yeah, and it is brilliant. And there's a lot of scams that go around with these overseas soldiers. There was this, it was this big one where they would we'll donate money and we'll send them calling cards. And, and then they were siphoning off money off both ends of the calling cards. They were actually sending calling cards, but they were, cutting off out of the whole, taking a cut at both ends on the calls and selling the cards and getting, it was paid for through donations. It was just a fascinating scam. It was very, very brilliant. Now, you said you did a documentary as well.
I said there's a documentary on it out there for this blood money, yeah. And I put that in the book so people could see it,
Oh, that's scary. So
I do believe, Ed, that, even Scripture talks about those forces are there, So I believe that they do have power for that.
Yeah.
But like you said, they will get their own in the end, right?
Yeah.
And here's the other thing is if you are a Christian, you will be sucked into this even harder because these guys use scripture, they know scripture, and you would think that they were a Christian. That's how he got me in big time.
Yeah, that's true, and you're right. In almost every one of these emails, you'll say, "Oh, greetings, fellow brother in Christ," But you can kind of tell. Now, what about your guy here? He didn't have that pigeon kind of English in his typing, and that kind of.
Well,
stuff
here's the other thing, Ed. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
Most of them will say they live in the United States now, but they're originally from another country. My guy said he was born and raised in Denmark, but his mom is in California, so he moved to California several years ago. So I was expecting an accent.
All right.
And let me tell you something. Some of my sources, I have to listen very closely because it's Pidgin English. So I've had to, decipher Pidgin English and have other people, say, okay, this is what he said. What does that mean? But a lot of my sources, you would never know they were Nigerian, Ed. Never. The educated Nigerian scammers, you just know it. They don't do the Pidgin English, and they're very well spoken. They're very well written, and you might think that they were from Australia or the UK, but you would never think Nigeria.
Very interesting. Okay. We're getting down toward the end of the show. So what do you want to leave us with? What do you want to? Because we got about 8 minutes left.
Well, I wish we had more time. I always want more time, Ed.
Yeah.
Number one, I really want people to let go of that thought of it could never happen to me. I really want them to understand that these scammers are looking for men and women between the ages of 40 and 70 all the time. All different places, Facebook, Skype, online dating sites, tagged, WhatsApp on your phone. I mean, any way they can get to you, they will. And, get my book. It's not that I'm trying to sell the book. I'm really trying to get people to know the red flags. And in my book, I have it written out, the whole stories from beginning to end. So you can see the scams be played out. And I break it up in the middle with red flags, and the red flags are also italicized and bolded because I want them to have the knowledge, Ed. I want them to be able. If you're on a dating site, I want you to be able to see that that's a scammer before you ever even chat with them.
Well, what are some of the red flags?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. Number one, if it's on a dating site or anywhere, their occupation is usually going to be engineering, construction, oil, any kind of business that requires travel outside to another country. He'll never say he's a doctor, a teacher, a factory worker. If it's, for a man to be scammed, usually they'll say they're a nurse. And sorry about this, guys, but 9 times out of 10, if you're seeing that sweet woman on that screen, it's a man behind the screen. Yeah. The words in his sentences are out of order. If they're not educated, that's where the pigeon comes in. It's like, really read that. If he says he has an education and he has poor spelling and poor grammar, you go, what's wrong with that? A big one is they will use lowercase i's all the time, Ed.
Okay.
So when you are looking at their profile, some places will have the capital I's. Like that's because they copied and pasted from somebody else's profile. And then they decided to write things in themselves, and then they'll have lowercase i's. So look for that. That's a really big dead giveaway there.
Hey, you know what else you could do too is you can
yes.
you can copy and paste a portion of that profile and put it in Google, and if it's the same exact profile as on 2 different websites, it'll come back up with both ads. We'll pull up both.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll see different pictures. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something else you can do, and stuff that they send you, all this love gushy stuff, if you put that in Google, you'll see which romance, websites they took it from,
Right.
like lovepotion.com or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But when they send you pictures, look at how the pictures are numbered. I mean, it'll say like JPEG 198A, 198B, 198C, or Jeff 1, Jeff 2, Jeff 3, or Jeff A, Jeff B, Jeff C. Who does that with their pictures, Ed?
Yeah, very interesting.
Right? So pay attention to that. In the first or second emails, it's baby, darling, babe, hun, my love, honey. I mean, all the endearing names, okay? That they use scripture and they say that they're a God-fearing man. Really, pay attention to that. Some Nigerian vernacular is I slept off. I'm going to bath now. My parents are late. Happy family. I love you with all my life. I promise I will never fail you. Tell me your true mind. I will not disappoint. Pay attention to that type of language, Ed.
Yeah, that's all very good. Those are all really good clues and stuff that I didn't even think of. I guess instinctively I pick it up every time you say it, I'm nodding my head. Yeah,
right.
I've seen it before, but it's great to have a list like that. That's really good.
So, well, there's 94 red flags in my book.
Okay,
Ed. 94. So, and yes, and I have a quick guide in the back of it, And also, before you go out there, don't be giving somebody your real cell phone number. Get a throwaway cell phone. You have to protect yourself. You have to just always be thinking, not everybody out there is a good person. And it's unfortunate, but it's good.
You can also get an 800 number that has a automatic number identification, or call capture it's called, and you can have that number ring to your cell phone. So you can give that number to people, you're dating or whatever, when you're going out on a date and stuff like that. And even if they have caller ID block, or they're using a caller ID spoofing card, you can capture their real phone number using that call capture with an 800. I mean, it's only $10 a month too, which would.
Oh, you send that to me.
Yeah, I do this stuff for a living, man. I've been doing this for a long time. So, real quick, how can people get a hold of you if they need your help? They want to contribute to your next book, or maybe they were a victim of this soldier scam and they want to get a hold of you.
Well, you can always reach me at my office number, which is 678-583-0401. Through email, it's Diana, Diana, at dlgarren.com. And on Facebook, look for our support group, which is Support Group for Romance Scam Victims. So, my book is found on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. Guys, I'm very accessible. If you need to talk or you have questions, whatever it is, please reach out to me, please.
Yeah, and all those links or email address or phone number, it's all available on the Opperman Report blog. A link to her book, Diana Garren, Who is the Real Man Behind the Screen? How to Protect Your Heart and Money. That's all. The link is right there up on the Opperman Report blog. You can just go there and click on it. Diana, thank you so much. As soon as that new book comes out, give us a call. We'll bring you right back, okay?
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it, Ed.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay.
You too.
So here we were, man, with the good old Diana Garren. What a story. Who is the real man behind the screen? How to Protect Your Heart and Money. And the link, like I said, is up there on the Opperman Report blog. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break here. We're going to play some commercials, and we'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. We are listener-sponsored, and we appreciate your donations. If you like the show, please visit OppermanReport.com and click on the donate button. Or you can donate directly through PayPal at OppermanReport@gmail.com. We have Mike Ray of InfinityHomePlans.com. He's the host of Parlay over at CJ Mars Radio, Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you need custom home designs, stock plans, or 3D work, he's your one-stop shop for home design and drafting needs. Mike Gray at InfinityHomePlans.com. If you're looking for essential oils, stop by and check out Essentially Tammy on Facebook. She is Young Living Essential Oils independent distributor. Now, these are 100% therapeutic grade oils. They help support the body's natural functions. You can visit her website posted on Essentially Tammy to see the current deals, or email at JockoTammy, JOCATAMI at yahoo.com, or call 352-239-8546. 352-239-8546. Hey, if you need a private investigator, go to my website, emailrevealer.com. We offer asset searches, locates, skip tracing, adoption investigations, online infidelity investigations. We can recover deleted text messages from a cell phone or trace an email to online dating websites to catch people cheating. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can call 800-572-9762. 800-572-9762 for emailrevealer.com, my PI website. Pacific West Bamboo. It's your premier source for construction and craft-grade bamboo poles. They're announcing their latest project with EcoHead Event Sanitation, making bamboo composting bathrooms and porta potties. Their first display will be at the Lucidity Festival in Santa Ynez, California, April 11th to the 13th. Come by and say hi and see what you can build with bamboo. Contact them for any kind of event planning, display building. If you need construction grade or craft grade bamboo products, call Amanda at 503-839-8126, 503-839-8126, or visit PacificWestBamboo.com, their brand new website. We're also sponsored by the New World Mexican Women. This is a rural Mexican craft women's cooperative. They are traditional makers of fine handcrafted, authentic jewelry. They use beautiful stone mosaics and Pacific blue Abilene inlay. They have a wonderful book of love letters written to their men in the United States, begging them to return to their families in Mexico. But they've written a new book, and it's it's about a young girl that falls in love with a rodeo bull rider and runs off with him without telling her family. It's a beautiful love story called Azucena Part 1, Azucena to the Rodeo. You can find their books and jewelry by clicking on their banner ad at OppermanReport.com or by Googling New World Mexican Women. You can also promote your business or website right here and have your ad played all over the world 7 days a week by emailing oppermanreport@gmail.com or calling 800-572-9762. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. The show is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/Opperman Report, and you go there, you get a free audiobook. And that goes for not just our guests today, but any kind of time you want to look for an audiobook. If you use our link, it gives the show a commission. We get a commission from that, so it helps support the show. And the same goes for if you're looking to buy one of our guests' book. I heard talked to a couple of people this week that said that, hey, we bought a book from one of your guests. We bought Dave McGowan's book. But if you use the link on our blog, the show gets a commission for that, and that's what helps keep the show running and keeps us going, as well as getting new sponsors. We just recorded some new ads today, and so that's what keeps us going. And donations, because we are listener-sponsored. So you can always make a donation. If you like what you're hearing, you can go to OppermanReport.com, look for the donate button, or you can donate directly through PayPal at OppermanReport@gmail.com. And I tell you what we really need. We really need someone like an investor or an angel that wants to come in and be a producer and help us finance all this, okay? Because you guys have no idea what's coming to me. We have so much info coming in under the door, behind-the-scenes information that we really need to get out there. That's really important information we need to do shows about. Unbelievable stuff, Not just the stuff that we talk about on the air, but other stuff that we would love to be doing. So we're getting to kind of a turning point here, and we have to decide if I can keep devoting all my time and energy to this show and doing my investigative work and my reporting work, for this audience, or I have to go back to devoting all my time to my business, my full-time job. and deciding what we're going to do here, because there's no way that we can continue on the road that we're on now with me and Ann and Christoph and us guys here, and then Mike Gray and Amanda all funding this all ourselves. We need your help. We need another partner out there that wants to come in and help us get in on the ground floor with these investigations and this kind of stuff that we're trying to do. I want to thank my guest today, Diana Garren, who's the author of Who is the Real Man Behind the Screen? How to Protect Your Heart and Family. She's a real trooper and a real pro, let me tell you, because we had some really rough audio problems going back and forth. I know I had trouble hearing her, and I know she had trouble hearing me too, but she just was a real pro, and I take my hat off to that. But I'd like to tell you some things. I'm waiting for a call to come in from a special guest. But while we're waiting for that, I'd like to tell you about some of my work in this area with computer scammers and online con men and that kind of stuff, because I've done a lot of work in that area. My PI business started out, well, not started out, but when I restarted it back around 2000, we were doing employment screening. Around 1997, 1998, I got involved with the Art Bell lawsuit and that online feud and all that stuff that was going on there. And I was being stalked. I did an affidavit for Art and did a little negotiation behind the scenes for him with these litigants in his lawsuit. And they mentioned my name and my email address on the air, and I started getting stalked online. I was the victim of cyber stalking. So I went around to all my old sources to try and figure out, how to trace an email. How can you identify a person behind an email address? And everyone I talked to, nobody knew how to do it. And I had some really good sources. I still do, but, throughout my career, I've known some of the best information brokers that are out there, the legends. So no one knew how to trace an email. So I had to come up with my own little inventions and my own little traps and to identify and locate people behind an email address. And even till this day, if you go online and say, well, how do I trace an email? How do I locate someone from an email? How do I identify somebody from an email? And you look up these phrases on Google, they'll all say the same thing, basically, is to open up the email, look at the headers, copy the IP address, and then put it in this search engine tool to trace the IP address back to the Internet Service Provider, the ISP, which could be, Cox Cable or could be a Global Net, or Verizon or whatever their carrier is there. So for the average person, that doesn't help you at all. That does nothing for you. Who cares if you know that the IP address traces back to Verizon or Cox Cable or Cox Communications? Unless the average person were to have a source in one of those companies that could tip you off on what the person's name is, the only thing you could do is, if you had litigation, if you have an open case number, you can get a subpoena, and then you can serve a subpoena on the custodian of records of the ISP, and then get that person's name and address and their real information. But for the average person, that's a waste of time. Okay, nobody cares about the IP address or what the ISP is. Okay, I take that back. There are some circumstances where if you have a suspect in mind, you can kind of compare that information between the suspect and the person you know, and you can get a match, okay? And that could be done in a basic format by the average person. But if you want something you can use in court, you have to do this. There's a lot more factors, a lot more identifiers that a professional can come up with to make that match so that it's like a fingerprint match that you can create. I know someone like me, I can create a report that you can use in court. So really, going online, and another thing that bugs me too is a lot of people, you'll hear them say, "Oh, I got your IP address," and I put it, and I put it in Google Maps, and I traced it right back to your house. I can see the roof of your house. And when people are saying that kind of stuff, it's all huffing and puffing. It's nonsense. You really can't do that. Okay. Another thing that bugs me too is when people come to me and they say, "Well, we have to trace this email, and we gave it to our IT department." So that our IT department, or Internet Technology Department, can, what do you call it? So that they can try and trace this email. So your computer IT department is not an investigator. They have no experience in locating and identifying people, just like I have no experience in removing spyware or virus from your computer or updating your Windows version to Windows and, whatever, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so or networking, just like you wouldn't hire a private investigator or a digital forensic investigator to repair your computer system. Although I can do basic stuff. You wouldn't hire a computer technician to investigate and locate and identify people. Okay, and we've been doing this kind of stuff way back before the internet. We were locating people from payphones, from beeper phone numbers. Long time, way before the internet was invented, we were doing this kind of work. Locating and identifying people through very little bit of information. So now, when I started doing all this email tracing, okay, and no one was doing it back in 97, 98, it was unheard of. I was probably the guy out there that was doing the most with email addresses that you could do. And so what I invented a way, I figured out that I could trace an email address back to online dating websites. And if you think your wife is cheating on you, your husband's cheating on you, give me that email address, and I could trace it back, and I could see if it's registered on these big, popular online dating websites. No one else was doing that. No one else does it the way I do it. I can tell you that right now, because I'm really on the cutting edge of that still, the way we're doing it. And so that would be the kind of a tool for someone like Diana or someone in that kind of situation. Because what happens is, let's say you get one of these Nigerian guys and they contact you, right? And you can trace their email back, and they could be on ChristianDating.com, and it can also be on Gay.com or AltFetish.com, or these very disparaging, different type of dating websites, extreme different kinds of beliefs and attitudes, and you can see or different pictures. You can trace it back to the guy's profile, and he's using two pictures on two different websites. From the same exact email address. So that's kind of the way that I locate and identify these kind of cases. Another thing I was trying to get across to Diana is that what I found in these cases is that the real money seems to wind up in Israel most of the time. Although I've had some cases where they wound up in Florida as well. So we had this one case where this guy, he was betting on a gambling site. And it was the same thing. He had won all this money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, betting on baseball on his internet gambling site. And when it was time to withdraw his money, they were asking him for more money to pay for the taxes and pay for the transfer and pay for all this kind of stuff. And he thought as well. He thought they were in Dubai and Saudi Arabia, and he thought they were this is where the website leads. This is where I tracked the IP address down to. They're in the Middle East. They're over there. I tracked it down to Florida, okay? And in that case, we were able to track it down to one of the, some money went to the hands of one of these scammers' girlfriends. And the second we contacted her, the first thing out of her mouth was, I don't want any part of this. We were able to get that money back from her just by talking to her and convincing her that it was in her best interest to turn this money over and not get into a big litigation and a criminal investigation of what was going on with these internet scammers. So they want you to think that the money's in Nigeria, that these guys are in Nigeria, and it's impossible to find. But a lot of times, that's just like a little, what I like to describe is like, that's the Lee Harvey Oswald. They give you the patsy. When you're tracing an email and you're trying to locate, identify somebody behind an email, a lot of times they'll have a whole profile behind it. So you think you found him. Oh, we found him. Look, here's the guy. Boy, that was easy. But that's really just a whole pretext setup that you have set up to fool an investigator. So sometimes you have to go a little further beyond that. Because I myself, I have my own pretext accounts that are aged for years, going back to 2000, 2003. MySpace and Facebook. You can look up these names and look up these email addresses. You think they're a whole person with a whole life. They're all over the place. And we use these in pretexts to catch people cheating online. Because what happens is, someone will hire us to trace an email back to an online dating website, and we'll trace it back to the site, right? And the husband will say, you know what? I'm just on that site to look at the pictures. I never talked to anybody on that site. I never did anything with any of those women. I'm totally innocent. I just like to look at the pictures. Okay, and sometimes that's true. Okay, and you want to really laugh, too. A lot of these guys are on gay websites. We trace them back to gay homosexual websites. And they may not be homosexual. They say, well, listen, I looked at the pictures, I had an interest. And we got about 10%, 15% traced back to gay websites, these married men. By the way, too, of all these dating websites that you're on, 30% of the people registered on those websites are either married or in committed relationships. They're living with somebody. So 30%, and that's not my statistics, though, that I've come to find. There's been studies. So if people admit to it 30% of the time, it's got to be more than that. But what we do is, since some people may just be looking at the pictures and may not really be communicating, what I do is we can expand on that investigation, and we can actually make contact with the people. Once we found that they're registered to that site, we make contact to them with using 3 or 4 different kind of profiles. We'll have an Asian woman, we'll have a Spanish woman, or a blonde woman, a dark-haired woman. We're all different ages, and different personalities. We'll contact them saying, hey, I like your ad, whatever. And we get them to exchange emails back and forth with us to try to arrange a meeting. And one of the things I was talking to Diana Garren about was that we'll use a telephone trap line, a telephone number that has call capture or automatic number identification with a voicemail attached to it. So I'll send them an email with that phone number in it. When they call that number, it reveals what their real phone number is. Even if they have caller ID, block, and all this kind of stuff like that, we get past all of that. And they're leaving a message on my voicemail asking for this woman, begging her, oh, please, I've called you 3 times, please go ahead. So when you present that kind of evidence to a woman, a married woman, so like that, look, now we have some real proof that your husband is cheating on you. So we take things a little bit further, because this is what I do for a living. This is the kind of stuff we do all day long. But I do have some kind of funny stories that I could tell you anonymously without revealing too much about my clients. It's a fun job. This can be fun sometimes. And this woman, she contacts me. She never actually hired me either. This is back in the old days when, because right now the way the website's set up, the emailrevealer.com website, a lot of it's a self-help, do-it-yourself kind of stuff. You can hire me on retainer on there if you need advice, you need consultation, you need me to walk you through it. But if you're a pro, if you're in the business, I know we got a lot of PIs listen to this show, you can just go to the website and fill out the forms and get your information back. So this woman contacts me back in the old days, and she says, I have this man's email address, and I want to see what he looks like. Can you get me a picture of what he looks like from his email address? So right away, I want to know, okay, well, what's your problem with this guy? What's your relationship to him? What's going on? She says, no, I don't have any kind of problem with him. I like him. I like him very much. I just want to see what he looks like. And I says, well, okay, if you're not being stalked, if it's not a cyber stalking investigation, and you have his email address and you guys are getting along, why don't you just ask him what he looks like? Okay. So she tells me, she says, well, he won't tell me what he looks like. He comes over to my home and he has sex with me, but he makes me wear a blindfold and he won't let me see what he looks like. That's a true story, man. So, I says, well, it's going to cost you some money. I told her how much it would cost, because I can trace it back, get the guy's name and stuff like that, especially in a case like that where it's an email he's using all the time. And then, we would be on a hunt to find his picture. That might be some work. We might have to go to DMV or something like that, or mugshot it, or get a picture somehow that way. But she couldn't afford it, so we moved on like that. But here's this woman. She's actually having sex with this man, but he's making her wear a blindfold. This is the kind of client that I have. These are the kind of phone calls I get in an average day. Another time, we had this woman, I'll never forget, because her email address when she was contacting me, it was something like a mama bear to 5 babies, something email address like that. So she had 5 kids with her husband. And her husband was a truck driver, and she suspected he was cheating on her. So right away, it was a simple job. We traced it back right away. We caught him on gay.com, one of these gay websites. And so I sent back the report. Okay, we got him on gay.com. And she says, no way. My husband's a truck driver. We have 5 kids. There's no way my husband's homosexual. There's no way this is a scam. So, I got all offended, and I went and I found the guy's ad, and I found his picture on the ad. We weren't even paid for that part of the job. We just did this because I was so upset. to be insulted, you know? Because you know my ego. Everybody talks about my ego all the time, right? So let's get down to it. I do have a little ego, okay? But what happened is we find the guy's ad. He's on this gay website, and it's like a video cam, and he's sitting there naked with a baseball cap on, okay? But the rest of himself is naked. And in his description, he writes in there, but he likes to do this, he likes to do that. And by the way, I got a really tight asshole, he says. Okay. That's in his profile. So now I take a screenshot of this and we copy and all this kind of stuff, and I contact this woman. I said, look at it. We caught him. Look at it. There it is. See, I told you. Now, I was all excited. I thought I did a great job here. I found her husband on this gay website with this crazy description and all this kind of stuff with the picture and the baseball cap. But I did not realize how devastating it was for her to see this, And here I am, like, gotcha. And she was like, her whole life was destroyed over that. So, but still, the funny part though is the guy's profile. I don't know what happened to their marriage. I don't know after their relationship. I don't know what. Okay. But this is the kind of stuff you run across. Another one was very interesting. This is back in the days of MySpace. And this guy hired me that he thought his wife was cheating on him. And so we traced the email address back. We found a MySpace page that he didn't know about. So normally we would just send it back. But there was something on this MySpace page that caught my interest. And it was a picture of a biker. It was a guy who was definitely an outlaw biker type, and I says, boy, you look at this woman here and you look at all these other people on her page, and here's this biker on her page. What's up with that? So I went to the biker's page, and I was looking through his pictures and stuff like that. And I saw on there a picture of a little 5-year-old girl holding a gun. Okay? So when I contacted the client, I says, hey, what do you know about this guy here and this little 5-year-old? He says, that's my kid. That's my daughter. What? I don't know who this guy is. What the heck is going on here? So in that case, we were able to create a whole report to be used in custody litigation and stuff like that for the client. Opened up a whole big can of worms. You never know where things are going to wind up in these investigations. They can start off, you just want to find out if your wife is cheating, and then you find out this whole thing that your wife actually has your kid in some biker's house holding a gun, And in that case, it turned out that the biker was a convicted felon. And we had the proof that he was in possession of a firearm, so we were able to go to his probation officer, and we were able to take care of him that way. So you can see how things may start out small and innocent, and they wind up. You never know where they're going to turn out and where they're going to go. Okay, so I had another one like that as well, similar to that. So because even though the investigation's called an online infidelity investigation, or we call it the dating service infidelity assessment, we call it on the website, emailrevealer.com. It can be used, that report can be used also, too, in custody evaluations. Because we can also trace your email address back to porn sites and escort service sites. And even there's a whole other search, too, where we can trace it back to gambling sites. And we can create a report. Hey, look, this person has a gambling addiction. Hey, look, this person has an ad on fetish.com or extremetorture.com or these weird bizarre fetish websites, that once you've created this report for the client, and that client then can have their lawyer present this to the opposing side's lawyer, and that report in itself, with its color photograph and its exhibits attached to my report, could be so embarrassing to the person who's on these websites that they may not want that read in open court, in front of a judge, in front of different lawyers, in front of their family who may show up to court to watch the litigation proceedings. And it's a good incentive for them to want to settle with you before you actually get to court. But I had another one where we did it was an asset search investigation. Actually, we were looking for the guy's assets. The husband and wife were getting divorced, and the guy had a lot of money, trying to find his money. So one of the things we were doing was we had a hard drive, and we wanted to look at that, see if we could find, because you can search for things like Social Security numbers and credit card numbers, bank account numbers, just by putting it in the little search feature there. And some of these softwares like Encase and all these different kinds of Parabin, PC Commander, these different kinds of computer forensic tools you use, FTK. And so in this case, I found some email addresses we didn't know about for the husband. So I started running those and doing searches on that. And we found him on a website. He was doing searches. We found this in his browser history. We found that he was doing searches on how to set up a Swiss bank account to hide his money. And he was trying to find out how to hide money in the Cayman Islands and this kind of stuff like that. And he was looking up the Nevada Trust, how can I hide his money? Obviously, the guy was at his computer in the morning, figuring out how can I hide my money, And we found that. So I did more directed searches on that day's activity, okay? And by the end of the day, we found him. He was on a website trying to buy a gun with a silencer, okay? So obviously, the guy had started out his day saying, okay, I want to get a divorce. Okay, how do I hide my money? Well, it's not that easy to hide my money. Maybe I should buy a gun and kill my wife. Okay, and that was another situation where we could just create this report to be used in court, but it never went to court because both sides settled before. Because who wants that kind of stuff coming out? That's a big incentive not to have your information get out in court. So those are the kind of investigations that I do all day long in this area of cyber con men and scams and cheating online and all that kind of stuff. And you never know where they're going to end up. And, a lot of times, too, I was telling Diana about the trap lines. And we can use those as well for telephone harassment investigations. If you're receiving crank phone calls or calls with the caller ID block, or unknown caller, those kind of things, you can contact me. And I can set it up. I can put a trap on your line remotely that the call will pass through my trap line onto your cell phone or onto your home phone. And you can even have it ring to a third phone where you can actually talk to the people. And we'll capture all the incoming information of who's calling you up. So that's another thing we can do for you. Because what happens is, too, a lot of times with these dating scams and stuff like that, it'll start out like a catfish kind of situation, and then things can escalate with bad blood between you and this person online into a cyber stalking investigation. We need to investigate this person, capture all their online stalking, their online defamation, their online threats, their email threats, and capture all that information, reduce it, preserve it as evidence to be used in court. Then we create a report. And a lot of times, too, the average person will go to their cops, their local cops, and say, hey, man, I'm in a big problem with this person online. They're making threats. Look at it. They're sending emails. They're threatening to email my wife. They're threatening to send pictures to my boss. They have the names of all my neighbors. They know what my kids are wearing when they walk to school in the morning. Okay? And the cops will tell them, well, just turn off your computer. Stop talking to the guy. Okay? And you're lucky if you can even get them to come out and make a report. Okay? I had a big cyber stalking case down in Florida, where this guy was contacting my client every single day and telling my client, this is what your kid wore to school when they walk to school in the morning. I know exactly what they wear when they go to school. Now, obviously, that's a threat, okay? And that's what was meant to intimidate my client. But the police say, well, you know what? Yeah, anybody can, walk down the street and see what your kids are wearing and send you an email. Just turn off your computers. Block them so you don't see what he's saying. Because the cops, for the most part, they don't want to help you. They're very lazy and they don't want to get involved in this kind of stuff. So when a client comes to me, they're being cyber stalked, they're being harassed, I'll create this report, and then I'll make sure, okay, that we contact the police in a way that gets them on record, that we have them sign for this report, this complaint. We can create our own complaint, and then I'll trying to establish a rapport with the detectives on the case, so that they have an incentive to work with us and help us investigate this and prosecute these kind of people and get you a protective order and the things you need to get a resolution to this. Because it's not always, a lot of people will think, okay, fine, I'm being stalked online. Okay, let me call the cops, right? But even before you do that, the person doing this, I can check him out and we can find out that this guy's on probation. This guy's on parole. Bingo. Okay, now what we have to do is we contact his probation officer, his parole officer, and now we have a violation of his conditions of probation, conditions of parole. And the probation officer can create a new condition of probation. When you're on probation, it's just like you're still in jail. When you're on, they can come search your house and come take your computer, whatever they want. So as long, again, as we can establish this kind of rapport, first we have to find out, that's one of the first things you want to find out. Are they on probation? Are they on parole? Great. Right, now we got them. It's just like they're in jail. No search warrant needed. Now what we have to do is find out who's their probation officer, and create a rapport with this person, and get them off their butts to go down to this person's house and then do an investigation and make some threats and get this person in line and get them doing what we want them to do. So these are a lot of different kinds of things we can do, in my experience, with these kind of investigations that Diana Garren, the author of Who is the Real Man Behind the Screen and How to Protect Your Heart and Money. Some of the kind of cases she was talking about that I work on all day long. We had talked about catfish, and years ago, before I even heard the expression catfish, and this wonderful TV show you see on MTV, which, by the way, is totally fake and totally scripted, because I actually contacted them and I said, listen, I can help you track these people down in the real way. It's really done. Some of these catfish investigations would be over in 10 seconds. They would be over before the credits start. They're so simple to resolve. But good old Neve and his partner there with their little handheld cameras and sitting in hotel rooms and all this kind of crap. You don't have to do all of that. Some of these stuff is so simple and so quick, it's not even funny. Back in the old days when I used to do a lot of cyber stalking investigations that originated from message boards and online AOL message boards and the AOL chat rooms. All you had was the guy's screen name. So I came up with an investigation that I called the sock puppet investigation, because what we'd have is someone would be debating someone else on a message board, and then they'd create a fake account and come in and support their argument. Now, you'd have these two people fighting with you, but it was really the same person. And that was that's a kind of thing that's really quick and simple. You can identify right away that the two people are the same person. So I call it the sock puppet investigation. And that's kind of expanded into my catfish investigation, where I can do catfishing investigations too as well. And that's kind of a sad thing too, because so many people who contact me for the catfish investigation, I can talk to them for a couple of minutes, and I could tell right off the bat if they're involved in if it's a con game. And even too with the online infidelity investigation, I can talk to the client for a couple of minutes, about 10 minutes, and I can tell right away if there's really infidelity going on, or if it's a situation where the person's just paranoid and jealous and crazy and a stalker themselves. Or if, and a lot of times too, even the client will know, and they'll say, listen, I know he's cheating, but I need proof. I need something in my hand from someone else, because the husband is so much in her head and has her so convinced that she's crazy and everything she says is wrong. And there's so much mind manipulation that goes on and all this kind of stuff. Just like our guest was talking about, how these Nigerians can get in your head and make you fall in love with them. There's so much manipulation. So another thing too is with the digital forensics. Okay, I got involved in the computer forensics and the cell phone forensics. I guess it was around 2001, 2002. It was the cell phone forensics was brand new. It was unheard of back in those days. And the guys who I got involved with were the guys who were actually in Afghanistan hunting down bin Laden. These guys worked, as contractors for U.S. military and U.S. intelligence agencies, tracing down terrorists in Afghanistan. I'll tell you a real funny story later on. These guys, because they started their own. When they came back to America, they started their own company and they wrote their own software, and it's one of the best softwares out there. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. It's my go-to tool that I use first in this kind of investigations. It's called Paraben Device. Paraben Devices. So now I can't tell the rest of the story. Okay, but it's my favorite tool, and these are the guys who are down there searching down in Afghanistan. So, but the thing is, they had designed the software and these kind of tools like that for criminal investigations. Okay, so but as soon as I saw this, man, because I was doing my online infidelity investigation at the time, right away I knew I could use this to catch people cheating. So I started marketing this toward the market of people who think that their wife is cheating or their husband's cheating, and they want to see the deleted text messages on that phone, the deleted images that are on that phone to prove that their spouse is cheating. I had one case. This woman, her husband had just gone to a bachelor party the night before, and she heard him chuckling to his friends, texting on his phone the next morning, all this kind of stuff about the big bachelor party the night before. So, she says, hey, man, I know something happened last night. You guys did something with those strippers, right? And he goes, no, we didn't do that. So they get into a big fight, and she wants the phone. She wants to see the text. He takes the phone. He starts smashing it on the counter. He breaks the screen on the phone. So hey, here you go. See whatever you want, right? So she sends me the phone. So this is one of those cases, too, where I'm talking to her for 5 minutes on the phone. I know we're going to find something good on this phone. So he thought because he damaged the screen on the phone that the text messages were gone and the pictures were gone. But no, not at all, because we go through the USB port. So we get the phone, we download all the information through our software, and right away the first thing we see on there is pictures of this guy. He's taking pictures of himself while the bachelor party talent over there is performing on him. Okay, he's got pictures of this going on. He's holding a camera in one hand while she's working on him. So perfect. The guy thought he was going to destroy this evidence, but here we got it. Okay. So I started directing these investigations, cell phone forensics, toward infidelity investigations. And that was great. And that was really taken off. And that's how I got involved in the Tiger Woods case. Because as soon as I saw that what was going on here, I contacted the agent for the mistresses. And I says, hey, I can help you. Let's work together on this. And she says, "Are you kidding me?" She says, I got 20 women coming toward me saying that they all slept with Tiger Woods. I need 20 phones done. I send the phones. Okay, so they send me the phones. I'm working on all these phones. Some of these people never heard of Tiger Woods. They had no connection to Tiger Woods, and it became my job to prove who had a connection to Tiger Woods and who didn't. And so we recovered deleted text, deleted images. There's a lot of deleted information on these phones. And these were all models and escorts, all these women and stuff like that. So I had to go there and look through all their pictures one by one. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, And I got to be friends with some of these ladies, too, man. They're all characters, all of them, but they're fun people and they're nice. And so that's how the whole Tiger Woods thing ended after 15 women, because that's it. That's could do no more. I had it. I didn't want any more phones coming to me to work on that case, basically in exchange for the PR that I was getting for it. And so then I got into a whole bunch of cases. Ashton Kutcher, I did the Ashton Kutcher case, and that case was very interesting because we had the woman Brittany Jones, I think her name was, the girl. She was a model, and she had over 3,000 deleted images on her phone. And we were able to pull back every one of those images and get them all back. And that was we had never done anything that big before, because even myself, I was mostly doing criminal stuff. And then it was a bunch of them, too. I got involved in Wienergate and pulled some messages and phones, documented some stuff on that, some other big cases I can't even talk about. So that's one of the things, too, is in this kind of thing with tracking down people with online dating scams and stuff like that. Another thing that happens, too, with these phones, too, pretty common, is with the text messages, recovering deleted text messages and stuff like that, is for use in court for restraining order violations. And this is fascinating because there's all kinds of apps you can put on your own phone to dummy up the text to make it look like your ex-spouse, your ex-boyfriend, your ex-girlfriend sending you threatening messages, So, and this happens all the time. Then they go down, they walk down at a family court, they get online, they get a restraining order, and then they start dummying up this evidence to get their ex-boyfriend, their ex-girlfriend arrested. It happens all the time. So what will happen with me is I can produce a report on the client's phone showing that, hey, look, these texts, they're not there. During the time that he claims these texts were there, we have these other texts going back and forth. There's no way they're being at the same exact second. There's other phone calls. There's other activity on this phone during the time that they claim that these texts were taking place. So we know, and look, nothing was able to be recovered. We recovered these other deleted texts. We can't find the ones of these threatening texts. They're not there. So there's one thing. So that's one way you could do. Another way that people do this is that they'll park out in front of your house. They park out in front of his ex-girlfriend's house. He got a restraining order. He parks out in front of the ex's house, logs into the Wi-Fi because he's got the password already, starts sending himself threatening text messages from the Wi-Fi inside the house. And now he has the IP address from the Wi-Fi inside the home. Takes that to the court, says, look, see, these came from the inside the home there. We can prove it. Look at the IP address. She used a fake email address, but look, we proved that it's the right IP address. And you take that to your police department, they're going to fall for that right away. especially back in the old days, when this kind of idea that people were doing this even came up. So the first couple of times I saw this, and people are telling me, "Hey, man, my ex-husband says I'm sending him these threatening messages. I know I didn't send it to him, but look, the IP address matches, and he got me arrested. Now we have a criminal case coming up." Okay, so now I was able to figure out that there's other identifiers, and in one case, we found out that the computer on the laptop was using Outlook Express. I think it was like version 2007 or something like that. But the person inside the house, we had their computer. We had a whole download of all their information. We had everything on their computer. We had made a ghost of their hard drive. So we knew that this person didn't even possess Outlook Express at all on their computer. It didn't even exist on their computer. But the emails were coming from a computer that had Outlook Express. And who had Outlook Express on their computer? The laptop that was out in the car in front of the house, plugged into the computer, into the Wi-Fi inside the house. And that's how we were able to solve that case and crack that case and bring justice, truth, justice in the American way to the American judicial system. And save my client from a long jail sentence. But unfortunately, you can't save all your clients because a lot of these clients are guilty. Okay? I had another one, okay? Oh, my God. This woman drove me nuts. She was creating all these fake ads and all those kind of fake profiles and stuff like that, and stalking these people and making online defamatory comments about them online. And so finally this guy had enough. He went to the cops. Cops went to her house, and she says, "Oh, no. Someone must have hacked into my computer. That's what happened. Someone hacked into my computer and wrote all these messages." Right? And so she contacts me. Why? The first thing you want to do is cops show up at your door. You don't talk to the cops. Okay? Contact your lawyer. If you don't have a lawyer, contact a good investigator who can refer you to a lawyer that knows what he's doing. Because this client did contact a lawyer, and the lawyer allowed her to talk to these cops, and they came up with this scheme, the I was hacked scheme of defense. Okay? So now, when they brought me into the case, they said, "Okay, you're an expert. We want you to testify that her computer was hacked into and she didn't write these messages." And I says, "Well, okay, I'll take a look. Let's take a look at our hard drive. Let's take a look at this situation. Let's see where these messages were posted, and let's see how they caught her." Okay? And it turned out that the way that she was caught was through she was caught posting these messages online through a method that I had invented myself. I was the guy that invented this method that caught her, and I showed them to the lawyer, and I showed the client. I says, "Listen, you sent these messages, and I know exactly how he caught you doing it, and this is how he caught you, and I know it works because I invented that method. I know how he caught you." So then what happened with that case is kind of funny. Is she decides, well, the lawyer says, "Well, we can't use it as defense." So her solution is to go out and hire a different lawyer. So now she goes, we go back, and Ed, I need you to write a report saying that my computer was hacked. I got a new lawyer. Can't do it. Now I'm going over and over. She went through like 4 lawyers. At each time, I had to consult with each one of these attorneys and explain to them, "Hey, man, the client's guilty. Look, here's how it is. The defense you guys are using is not going to work. You have to come up with something else. Okay, or let me try and talk." Another thing too, guys. So many times, man, with these online defamation cases, these online stalking cases, I can talk to these people. I can track them down. I can find them, okay? And sometimes I can contact them, okay, and talk to them and reason with them and get both sides to drop their war and end their litigation and move on to something else in life, and go on to a happier life with less fighting and less friction. Because really nobody wants it. And with these online battles that go on, especially if one side is anonymous, sometimes the client will be able to identify who they are, and then what they'll do is they'll go back to the online forum where they're arguing with each other, and they'll say, "I know your name and address. Here it is. Let me post it." And that works for a couple of minutes. The guy, he reads it, and you know what? Yeah, now they know who I am, And that shakes him up for a few minutes and scares him. But then he'll come back first and he'll say, "Well, that's not really me. I put that information out there. That's fake information that I put out there to fool people. All kinds of stuff like that." So you really want to shake these people up. You don't want to confront them in the forum where you're arguing with them. But if I call them up, Hey, how are you? This is Ed Opperman from Opperman Investigations. I'm a private investigator, and I've been hired to investigate these crimes that are going on online. I want to talk to you about them and see what we can do before things get too serious and the police are involved. And arrests start getting made, and we're seizing computers. And your wife's going to find out your boss, maybe even your work computer. I know some of these messages came from your work computer. We're going to have to go to your boss and serve him with a subpoena and seize all those computers. So when you start talking to someone like this, you snap them into reality. It's no more of this online with you. I call it daddy's going to get involved here. The two kids are arguing back and forth online. That goes on forever. That goes on for a million years because both sides, too, get addicted to that, by the way, and they start to love it. It becomes a habit of what they do all day long. They're arguing with each other all day long. They fall in love with each other, and it's a habit that they get into that they get used to. Daddy comes in, Ed the PI comes in, and I call this guy up. It's not the person he's been fighting with. It's a new guy. Ooh, a guy, official guy. What a title. Oh, my goodness, what do I do? It's a guy from another state. Oh, no. Look at it. He sent me a letter on letterhead. I had a sign for it at the post office. And it shakes him up. I got a certified letter, a cease and desist. Well, now I got to hire a lawyer. We can shake up these people into reality by bringing a little reality into the situation. So let's see, what else? Okay, email tracing and email investigations, as you can see, they can be used in cyberstalking investigations, in online defamation cases. I can also use it to locate and find runaway kids and find people that are runaways and bail jumpers and stuff like that. Because I can email them, and when they open it up, I have little traps and little tricks in there and stuff like that, little links for them to click on, phone numbers for them to call, all kinds of little tricks I can use to fool them into revealing where their location is, okay? I also, too, now a lot of people will say, oh, no, but Ed, the guy's stalking me. Oh, he's so computer savvy. He's so smart. We can't find him. Oh, Ed, he's part of a criminal ring of stalkers and hackers and international hackers, Ed. We'll never find him. My stalker is so big and so important. He's with the CIA. He's former CIA, Ed, I'm telling you. Okay, so people fall in love with their stalkers, and they like to believe that the person that they're fighting with online is this big, giant organization. Oh, my God, he's so scary. He's impossible to find. I like those kind of cases even better because those people, they may take steps to hide their identity through proxy servers and IP address anonymizers and all that kind of stuff, right? But in their arrogance, okay, we're going to fool them into revealing who they are. And one of the ways I do this is by reversing things. This person has a stalker mentality. So I know that if I just nudge him a little bit, and I have a fake account, a fake email address with a little, an aged account, okay? Then when he finds, I'm going to send him some emails, and he's going to say, well, who's this person? Sticking their nose in my beef with this person here. Who's this guy, this Joe Blow at AOL.com? I want to find out who this person is. Now, he's going to start investigating me. He's going to start trying to trace my email address back to me. And what I got is all kinds of little traps set up all along the way. He's going to find me. Okay, he's going to find me all kinds of websites and all different kinds of things, and I could have this guy so wrapped up that he'll reveal everything about himself as he's trying to find me. Okay, so the more proxies they have, they're working from the library and all this kind of stuff like that. We find him the other way. Like, come, look, I'm running away from him. He's hunting me down. I got little traps for him all along the way. So that's another thing, too, is people think, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up a fake account. All that stuff, guys, I've been down this road a million times. I've been doing this for years. Since 1997, I've been doing this, man. Any kind of new trick they come up with, we got all, And now I know so many other guys that are doing this, too. We talk to each other, and we meet at different conventions and conferences. We have little tips and tricks we pass on to each other. And there's all different kinds of ways you can catch people nowadays. Oh, boy. I was just about to... I had a really good story I was going to tell. I forgot what it is, though. Now, once you start forgetting, it'll never come back. Hey, so, just like people will try to hide their identity with fake email addresses, people you're trying to locate for to collect on debts and stuff like that, they'll do the same thing. I was just talking to somebody the other day. I was doing an interview, and he was saying, okay, he wants to do an asset search on this guy because now they had a business dispute, and now he wants to sue him and get his money. I said, well, okay, well, what about the credit report you did on him when you went into business with him? And, well, we didn't do one. See, and you don't want to be shy. When you're going into business with somebody, you don't want to be shy. Have them fill out a credit application with you. Because I want to run your credit. Before I go into business with you, partnership or some kind of investment or whatever, I want to run a credit. Just like when you want to buy a car. They say, well, we're going to run a credit app on you. Okay, gee whiz. But if you want to go into partnerships with somebody, you don't want to run a credit app on them, of course you can. So you get them to sign a little credit release form, right? A little contract saying that you're allowed to run a credit report on them. But what you put in there, it says, and we're allowed to run frequent credit reports on each other. Every 6 months, every 9 months, every year, every 5 years. You could have them sign them and date them right there in front of you right then and there. Now, if you got a problem down the road, okay, and you get into a lawsuit with this guy, now we want to find out where his assets are. You can do an asset search investigation, but it's great to do a credit report on somebody as well. We're going to find out, what kind of debts they have. They may have more debts than, and judgments and all kinds of stuff out there. So now you have it. You already have his permission to run it. We can run it for free. Now, of course, okay, listen. Of course, there's ways to get credit reports on people without that you can't use them in court. You can't use them in litigation and stuff like that. But of course, you can get them. They're out there. There's guys that can get your stuff, all kinds of stuff. You can get copies of people's tax returns. When I first moved here to Vegas, I met one of the guys, the internationally known, famous guy, big shot. And that's what his business was, is getting a hold of people's tax returns and looking at that. Getting a little peek at that and telling you what they put down, all the information they put down on there. But people can take steps to hide their money as well. They can take steps to hide their identity. They can set up foreign bank accounts, trust, corporations, all kinds of ways you can hide stuff. So you need a pro that can go after that and find all that kind of stuff and identify people and locate people that way as well. And now, I know we started out today talking about these kind of online dating scams and online money scams, and we kind of went in a little different directions here, but they all kind of fit into each other, because like even with the email searches and the email traces, you can use that to find people's assets and stuff as well, and to find their location as well, and information about them, to track people down and locate them from their email address. I had one case, a guy called me up in the middle of the night, and he says, oh, my girlfriend, she's missing someplace in Vegas. We don't know where she went. All this stuff. And I talked to his, actually it was the sister called me up first. My sister's missing in Vegas. So I said, well, okay, fine. Then I talked to the boyfriend. Talked to him for 5 minutes. And the guy confesses to me that they got into a big fight. And she took off, and left them where they were. So what I was able to do was I was able to email her and see where she was when she opened up the emails. And I located right away that she was at I think it was a Comfort Inn or some kind of hotel like that. So we knew right away which hotel she was in, but we didn't know exactly which one. So we just sent guys to every single one, and we found her sitting down there in the lobby of this motel. Using their business center to open up and read her emails. So we were able to find her that way. And that could take some time because you got to wait for people to open up their emails. A lot of people don't understand when you're doing an email trace. It's not something. It's not like this nonsense where you're looking at the header and you're gonna find them in 10 seconds. You got to put in a little blah blah blah, do all this kind of. Sometimes you have to wait for them to open up an email. Sometimes you have to wait for them to come back and trace me and fall into my traps and do all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot involved in all of this. But when it comes to the infidelity stuff, we pretty much got that covered. Because people, when they're just going online to cheat, and by the way, too, it's really funny because a lot of people will think, well, you know what? He's not going to use his email address because he uses that for work. We've gotten emails from Department of Homeland Security. The guy works for the Department of Homeland Security, and he's using his DHS email to be on dating websites and talking about all this stuff, right out in the open on the website, stuff like that. Over and over and over, we've had that. People use their work email address to open up these dating websites and stuff like that. And another thing, too, is people also, what they'll do is adversely, or conversely, I think it is that they'll create an email address to harass and stalk someone, like Ed's a jerk at yahoo.com. And then they'll start emailing me, and I'll see Ed's a jerk. I'll say, well, okay, fine. Obviously, He just created that email address to harass me. So it's not going to be found, in a lot of different searches. It's not going to be used on Amazon. It's not going to be used on Craigslist or these other places. Because what you can do is you can develop sources in these big companies, and you can, they'll tell you, who's using their IP address and stuff like that. And I've been doing this for years and years and years. I got a lot of these sources. But if it's a brand new email address, and maybe he's doing it from the library, he goes to the library, creates this fake email address. So now the IP address is no good. It's a waste of time. He uses a proxy server at the library. Now, so there's a proxy. Plus, it's a brand new email address. It's all fake. You want to know what? That guy who creates that email address, Ed's a jerk at yahoo.com, a month down the road will say, you know what? I want to go and I want to join this website. I want to do this. You know what? I already got that email set up. I already have it created. Let me use that one. Okay. And I've had people 2 years later, a year later, use that stalking, that email they only created to stalk somebody. They'll use it, and you want to know what else? They'll use it attached to their credit card. And now we got them. Now we totally got them. They'll use it to make an online purchase, okay, with their credit card information and stuff like that. And boom, it pops up. We catch it, and now we got them. And that kind of stuff is undeniable proof that you can use in court. Or like I said, you can contact them and just let them know the jig's up, we got you. Time to turn yourself in, drop what you're doing, make a confession. You have no idea how many times I can get someone on the phone and make them confess. And even when I have guests on the air sometimes, like now, we'll be joking around in Skype in the chat room saying, watch, I'm going to get a confession out of this guy. Watch, let me go. We'll go a little further. So, guys, that's my little pitch for you today. Tell you about online investigations. You can find all this information. I've written a million articles. If you just Google Ed Opperman email tracing or Ed Opperman online infidelity investigation, I've written a million articles about this kind of stuff that have been reprinted and reused all over the internet without my permission. You can find them everywhere. Now, I got a bunch of blogs, too, that you can find them on. But my main website is emailrevealer.com, and that's where you can go there. If you're a pro and you know what you're doing, you can just go down there and fill out the forms. If you need a consultation, if you need my time, then you got to hire me. You got to put me on retainer, okay? I try and keep the expenses down for you, but this is what we're doing. Okay, now remember, we got a whole big bunch of shows coming up and topics. You have no idea. We got Dean Henderson coming on. He's going to be talking about Venezuela, the assassination of Hugo Chavez. We're doing a big show about the assassination of Princess Di. We got this cop coming on tomorrow, Ike. Retired NYPD detective talking about his crime scene tours. We're going to be talking about Son of Sam. We're going to be talking about Mark David Chapman, all kinds of stuff. Big things in the works. We got that whole big story we're going to be doing about the Jeffrey McDonald case. I'm talking to all these different people who knew Ted Gunderson. We're going to be doing a whole Ted Gunderson story. These are produced, pre-recorded shows we're going to be doing. I've been talking to somebody lately that has really serious inside Hollywood information, stuff you would not believe about the very noticeable, recognizable celebrities involved in heroin smuggling, involved in coke smuggling, possibly murders, insurance scams, all kinds of pedophilia kind of stuff you would not believe, guys, stuff you would not believe that is information coming to me, okay, that people want to get out there, that I want to help them get out there. Stories that I want to investigate myself and really do some really good work with. This Jeffrey Epstein to keep going for you here, okay? The kind of stuff that no one else is bringing you, okay? You got to keep us and destroy us. Of all the work we're doing out here, we're his fascinating adventures. God bless you all, and thank you for your support.